will be starting very, very shortly. Thanks for joining us. Okay, we've had several more people join. I think we should get started. So welcome to today's webinar, all around EDI managed services and that best practice process for Business Central users. I'm here in the UK in Woking. My name is Danusha Jolliffe, and I've got Larry joining us from overseas. Hi, and Larry will just be in charge. He'll be running the PowerPoint for us as we run through, and he'll be doing the demo as well. If you could advance the slides. So, as I said, my name is Danusha Jolliffe. I'm the Marketing and Customer Service Director here at TVision. And I look after the customer service desk, and I've been doing marketing now for 6 years. And I will be managing the questions, looking after that contact box, the chat box. If you have anything you'd like to ask throughout, do let me know. And then I'll be passing over to Larry, who can do his introduction. If you could just pop your slide over a bit, Larry. We've got that other screen appearing again.
Okay, that's a little weird.
Cool, perfect, wonderful. Over to you, Larry.
Oh, great. Thanks, Danusha. I'm Larry Pellis. Really nice to meet you all. As Danusha said, I'm overseas, but I'm based in Holland, not very far away. I do a lot of traveling into the UK. I've spent a lot of time in the country, visiting with clients, potential partners, and I've got a team of people in the country. We've got about 120 people in the country, basically providing EDI managed services to customers. And I'm just the odd one out, just kind of over here in Holland, but very much focused on what's going on in the country. So a couple of things I want to talk to you about is basically how does EDI can be used to run a modern supply chain. So give you some insights based upon some of the experiences that we've had working with our customers. And also, if you're looking to take what you've done in terms of EDI and doing it towards the next level, where you want to just offload the workload to somebody else, then I'll give you some tips in terms of what you could look for in terms of a managed service. And then I want to talk to you about the benefits of running EDI inside of D365 or running it inside of Business Central. So the concept is that let your users do their day-to-day work in terms of receiving orders, fulfilling them, and sending invoices out, and let EDI just happen in the background. And really, that's the concept that I like to share with you as one of the key best practices, and something that I like to show you during a demonstration today as well. Just a little bit about us. So we are a global company, headquartered primarily in the United States, and through a series of acquisitions, we've expanded around the world. So we've got in Europe, we have about 300 people. 120 of them exist in the UK, and there we provide sales support, pre-sales support, technical support. We have delivery teams and development activities all happening in the UK. We've got quite a lot of customers in the drinks and the groceries and the retail area. And we also have lots of presence in the Nordics through our Copenhagen folks, and also lots of folk presence in the German market. And as I said before, I'm just sort of like the odd guy out living over in Holland, but it's not a bad place to live. And I get to travel quite a bit into the UK, visiting my partners, as also visiting a lot of my team members. And we're always looking to promote our capabilities. Obviously, we have a lot of scale. So in the UK, we have quite a few customers. We have a network that we already connect with almost all the grocers in the UK. And we also have a network that's already connected to many, many drink suppliers in the country as well. So in our experiences, as we speak to a lot of customers, we get to see how they are running their supply chains. We get to see how they're dealing with their accounts payables processes, as well as their accounts receivables processes. So I'm going to walk through both of those to just sort of give you some insights as to what companies are doing with Business Central and also with NAV historically to establish a good supply chain to support their accounts receivables and accounts payables processes. Now, what I've done, try to make it really simple to understand. So it's a sequential order in the way you would read this chart. So from your sales orders all the way out to generating an invoice and everything in between. And what I wanted to highlight is that there are some color-coded cryptic messages in there. So for example, orders, order RSP, and invoice, precat. If these things don't make any sense to you, that's okay. That's just basically the EDI language that that we talk to between parties. And we make sure that these EDI messages are properly interpreted by both parties and that they all get the information that they look for. Customer sends you an order and you receive the order, get the details into Business Central, and then all the messages you send back to them, we make sure that it's in the right format for your customers to receive. They can understand when items are being shipped and that the invoices are matching the original invoice, the original order that was sent. Quite simple stuff, but it does take a lot of detail in terms of making sure that master data, item details, trading partner setups, exceptions handling, all those details are really what make EDI a bit more complicated. And so I'll get into some of those items as I go through this. But in the accounts receivables process, we've noticed that a lot of companies sort of stop at two very basic messages. That's receiving an order and sending out an invoice. And those are sort of like your basic steps towards the EDI world. But bear in mind that you can actually go further. You can actually do things like in an advanced level where you can actually send a response to an order. And what that means is that you can respond back to your customer to say, I understand you want to buy these articles. I understand the quantities that you want, and I understand when you want to receive them. I can do it 100%, or I can send a message back to say, I can only do so many of those at this particular time frame. So it gives you a chance to communicate back to the client in terms of what the client is looking for. So what the client does with your feedback is determined, on a case-by-case basis. In some examples, we see clients basically, or customers basically updating their purchase orders to accommodate what they've actually ordered, or what you actually have available to them. And that's quite important because as your purchase orders are coming in, you want to make sure that you can deliver those items, and then you can make sure that it matches the outbound invoice that you send to the customer later on. The other approach you can take is that the customer doesn't change the purchase order, but you put everything in backlog and you just make sure that you work on the inventory, and you can basically do partial shipments until you finally reach the customer, until you're actually able to fulfill on that invoice. But what your trading relationship with your customer is can you send a partial invoice for the items that you ship? Or do you need to wait for all items to be shipped before you send an invoice? So those things get handled offline, away from the cryptic EDI messages, but nonetheless, there's flexibility in the formatting of the EDI messages to be able to have that type of relationship with your partners. That even becomes more important when it comes to fulfilling an order through the dispatch advice or delivery notice message. And that one requires a lot more detail. It requires you to identify how you've picked the items, how you've packed them, how many cartons you're going to be shipping out, and how you label those items. And it takes a little bit of back and forth, making sure you get all the right data necessarily inside of Business Central so that you can actually make that shipping notification message out to the customer. The other dimension to this, if you're working with a third-party warehouse where your products are in a third-party warehouse, you need to send them instructions as to what you want them to pick for you and pack and ship for you. And then once they actually complete that transaction, then they can send you a message that says, yep, I've shipped it, and it also includes all the details that you need so that you can communicate back over to your customer with the corresponding dispatch advice message. And then finally, you've got the invoice. And so that would be your classic flow of basically accounts receivables processes, but I'm also giving you some color about what additional things you can do in terms of a real commercial relationship with your customers. The last one I want to mention is this message sway up the other end. And I'm just I've got two screens going, so I just want to get a pointer going so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. is this pre-cat message, and that is called a price catalog. And in that case, you list out all your article numbers, and you list out all the corresponding prices associated with it, and also any other variables associated, attributes associated with those items. And what that really helps with in advanced situations, if you've got a lot of turnover in terms of product, or you're producing fresh products that need to be that change all the time, and well, you label things differently, you can always provide these types of details over to your customers so that they know that this is the latest and greatest catalog of stuff that they can actually order. And when you do that, what you're actually doing is you're resisting the chances of making errors with your orders, because there's always exceptions that you need to handle when it comes to orders that are coming in. But if you can minimize that by making sure that the customer is ordering the right stuff, then basically all your orders flow through the system as seamlessly as possible. Now, on the accounts payable side, it's sort of the same thing, but in the reverse direction. And in this case, you're sending out purchase orders to your customers. You want to clarify the order. Maybe your supplier wants to clarify the order with you, and then they would send you the corresponding messages of, I've confirmed this. Me as a supplier, I've confirmed that what you want, and I'm going to ship it to you, and so on and so forth. So it's pretty much in the opposite direction when it comes to the accounts receivables. Get rid of this pointer. So when you look at trying to establish these level of communications with your trading partners or your customers or your suppliers or third-party logistics suppliers with a plethora of EDI type messages that you can use, and I've only given you a subset here, and if you ever want to know more details about what you can do, such as inventory controls, or moving inventory from one location to another location, or doing vendor managed inventory, where you're looking at sales reports, actually what's occurring at the tills at a particular retail location. There's all sorts of messages associated with that. Happy to talk to you at another time and explain that to you. But just pick the subset for the interest of time for today. And now I want to focus my attention on what you should look for. So what you look for is, we've kind of boiled it down to 6 different things. The first thing is that you should be looking for an integration into Business Central. And that means that this would allow you to simplify interoperability with other applications like the Bevica app or other apps that you actually use. And it also minimizes the potential of customizations. And customizations are things that you prepare uniquely for your business. And if you've come from the nav world, you know that there's quite a lot of customizations in place. And so when you have an integrated solution, you can actually eliminate quite a few of those items, almost all of them. You should also be looking for a single help desk. As you look at an EDI network, there's quite a lot of moving parts from one end to the other. And in between, you want to make sure that you can ask questions to somebody about all the different steps along the way. You can also get a single help desk to get some help, get training, request changes. There's always changes that happen because your partners or your customers are always looking for something new, and you want to be able to provide an update to them, make those updates as quickly as possible. You should also be looking for some level of monitoring as well. And what I mean by that is you should be able to make sure that traffic is always running. Making sure that if you've got a steady flow of orders coming in, or you're pushing out a steady flow of orders to your suppliers, that there's always traffic going on. And
Larry,
yes,
we've had our first question.
Oh, yes.
So someone's just asked, how could this work for ex-seller orders where when we have to invoice when it leaves the production site for the customer, but they may not get the stock for 5 weeks? Does that make sense? Shall I say it again?
Yeah, please do.
So how could it work for ex-seller orders where you have to invoice when it leaves the production site for a customer, but they might not get the stock for another 5 weeks? How could that apply?
That's a real good question. That's kind of a little over my head. I want to take that away and provide a reply.
Okay.
I'll
Okay.
talk to some of my experts about that. But thank you
Cool.
for the question.
Cool.
Yeah. So I was talking about monitoring, and so the other aspects of monitoring is you just want to make sure that traffic is running, and also be able to monitor rules. You've got certain trading rules with with your customers and your suppliers, such as price checks, item checks, shipping locations. Business Central being the master data, you just want to make sure that that master data is always validated. You always want to validate all the messages to the master data. So doing those checks before you create a sales order or before you send out an invoice is always really valuable. And then being able to have an exceptions handling capability so that you can actually take action on those exceptions and be able to address those. And that's really all about the modern user experience, that you want to provide the users with Business Central as the central user experience for handling your orders, and let EDI happen in the background without users having any intervention. The only time they would intervene or get involved with the EDI tool would be with handling exceptions. And the beauty of the approach is that you want to have, if you take a look at all the types of errors that exist, a lot of those errors are related to master data discrepancies. So if the users understand their master data in terms of item numbers, pricing, policies, those things can actually be handled by the users themselves and corrected by the users themselves without having to invoke a skilled IT person. So empowering users to be able to solve their own problems, master data related problems, is really a good thing to think about for a managed service. The other thing is that the service should provide full maintenance across everything. First, the integration into Microsoft should be fully covered into maintenance. Any support, any changes, any technical problems, mapping changes, security updates, infrastructure needs for memory, computing power, all those things should just be included, right? And so you don't have to worry about any of those things. And the final bit is, bit on a commercial bit, is about predictability and costs. So you want to be able to know that there's a fixed fee for implementation. You've scoped out the solution. You want to get a firm price to say, I think it's going to cost you this much. Actually, we can guarantee it's going to cost you this much, so long as the scope doesn't change. And then have a fixed recurring fee. Just make sure that it's a predictable amount of money that you can budget for year over year over year. Now, naturally, in some cases, if your volumes start to increase, that means that business is really good, and there might be some additional fees associated with that because it was above the predictions that we actually made with each other. Hopefully this is all understandable, but I want to move into a couple other pieces before we wrap up today, and that is running EDI inside of D365 has some pretty good benefits. Here's kind of a big picture, and what you really want to be able to do is just make sure that whatever service provider you have allows you to connect with all your trading partners, either directly through a public network or through some old-fashioned VAN or X400 network. And we see that a lot in the UK. Obviously, we have lots of companies that already have EDI suppliers such as OpenText or GXX, and these guys existed for a long time. And you can interconnect through these networks, but still have your own preferred service provider to be able to handle all your EDI requirements. And then Business Central will have this application that runs. In this case, we're talking about the TrueCommerce app that is available on Microsoft App Store, and then you can actually download it and test it out and see how it runs. But it's quite lightweight in its in existence, and a lot of the communication that exists between here is all based upon Microsoft standards for basically API communications. And the big benefits is that through a managed service, It's something that's continuously certified. So Microsoft Business Central is always updating. So you want to make sure that you have something in place that always updates with you. You want to have as many automated transactions available to you as well. That means that order processing or creating a sales order, creating an invoice, creating a purchase order, all those transactions can be already out of the box and automated. All you would need to do is have some configurations in terms of making sure that the master data that you have would match what your customer or your supply actually needs. And that mapping requirement or effort can actually be done by us in support of the project. It eliminates customizations, and there's quite a lot of things that we've done historically in NAV to be able to support EDI. I've got a whole list of these items towards the end that I'll show you momentarily, but it does save a lot of time. And if you've got, if you're looking to, and that time saving means basically cost benefits as well as time to delivery as well. The other couple of things is that it's a really simple thin client, and that thin client is something that I want to show you right now in terms of a quick demonstration. Now, I had Danusia and I were kind of trying to see if we can get the audio working on this in this demonstration. But what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to walk you through it because the audio didn't really come out as much as I wanted to. So Robert's not here, just in case you lost track of who's speaking, but I'm Larry, I'm the speaker. So I want to go into the demonstration real quick. Fortunately, there's some taglines, but the key benefits here is that I want to show you is that Business Central is the user experience for EDI. And there's a couple of other things that we have available that, for example, user-defined fields. And these user-defined fields are what we can go to put data into and pull data from. And that's how we interoperate with other applications. So we interoperate with Bevica through this particular means, and maybe other applications that you may have. That we need to access that data, then we have a really simple mechanism through user-defined fields to be able to get access to that. But overall, it's a very lightweight application, and I want to show that to you right now. Hi, welcome to the show. So here you can see basically Business Central in place, and notice that this. We promote Business Central as the primary interface for EDI. It's something that you can download from the App Store and you actually implement to yourself. And so basically, it's all about a very seamless EDI experience using Business Central. And everything that we do in terms of EDI just basically happens behind the scenes. So what we're going to show you is a couple of things that sort of how we organize things. So for example, when we take a look at sales orders, we're able to identify sales orders that either come from EDI or from other mechanisms. And you may have web shops and you may have other things, other marketplaces where your orders are coming through. But what we can do is we can identify EDI orders to be EDI orders so that's easy for you to identify. And what we do is we automate the creation of sales orders, and we can do that in either a quotation basis or as a proper sales order. And then what we do is we extract the data and we put it inside Business Central to the appropriate fields. And then we have also user-defined fields, as I mentioned before. And these user-defined fields is actually where we can put data and pull data from in terms of being able to interoperate with other applications. So the user will end up going through the normal Business Central process in terms of seeing an automated sales order and then releasing it, going through the shipping process. And when you do the shipping, you actually create an ASN in the background. And then when you click on the invoice process, you actually would create an invoice in the background. So the user is basically following the standard fulfillment processes of basically processing a sales order. And basically all the EDI magic gets done in the background. And all the magic that we have is based upon all of these transactions. It's like 20+ transactions that we support that can be automated to support your accounts receivables, accounts payable, or 3PL transactions with your customers. So that's sort of a very quick overview. As you saw, that there was nothing fancy behind the scenes, just Business Central and a couple of user-defined fields that we actually identified. Now, as I wrap up here, just wanted to identify that there's a lot of customizations or a lot of, let's say, functionality that a managed service like the TrueCommerce managed service can actually provide to your overall Business Central implementation. So, for example, getting data in and out of Business Central, creating different ERP transactions. I talked about 20 different transactions. Validating data through business rules, creating alerts, and giving assistance as to where how to correct those alerts. A cross-reference table. Generally, your customers will order part numbers that you don't know that don't match your part number. So being able to establish a cross-reference table is something easy to do, but doing it in a dynamic way so that you can actually update that quite quickly without having to make changes in Business Central. Same thing with unit of measure conversions, trading partner parameters, turnaround data from trading partners, mapping changes. So we've kind of taken all that stuff that normally was built inside of Business in Nav. We've taken it out so that you don't have to rebuild that inside of Business Central. So at the end, it's basically that you get fewer changes in BC. You can do your Microsoft updates really easy. You're lowering your development costs. You implement a lot faster. And then all of this is basically provided as a managed service to users. So I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover. Probably I have a few more minutes perhaps for some questions.
Larry?
The app is available online, so you can have a look at it if you want. And of course, I'm available to ask any questions.
Yeah, Larry, we did have a question. Someone said on average, how long does the implementation take for TrueCommerce?
Yeah, so we've got different parts to it, but if you've got a scenario of say 5 trading partners with say 4 messages each, you could be looking between a 3 to 5 month implementation time frame.
Okay.
And a lot of that time is not effort, it's all waiting. There's a lot of waiting when it comes to setting up EDI, a lot of waiting.
And when you said you've got a number of clients already in the UK, are they in various sectors? Are there any specific ones that use you more than others?
Yeah, so retail wholesale, either food, fashion, really popular. A lot of manufacturing customers as well. We have pharma retail customers, and those would be, and we also have automotive clients as well. So those would say be our really largest. So it's food and beverage, would be wholesale retailers, fashion, and all sorts of manufacturing companies.
Cool. Okay, just waiting for a few more questions if any more come in, if anyone wants to ask anything before we finish up. As Larry said, this is available on AppSource. If you wanted to find out any more information, or if anyone has any further questions, then obviously I can pass those across, or if you'd rather a more in detail demo. Obviously, we only have half an hour today, so you've given us a very, very quick overview, as you said.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
But we'd be happy to do that in more detail if anyone asks, and I can put them in touch with you directly, Larry, if that's okay.
That'd be great. That'd be great, especially the gentleman or person who asked the question.
Yeah.
I'd like to get, if you get write that up to me, I certainly will get a more knowledgeable person to be able to answer that.
Yeah, I said that I'd follow that up with you and sort that out.
Sounds good.
Cool. Okay, we haven't got any more questions now. If anyone does have anything else further they'd like to ask after the session, then please do get in touch. So I'd like to say very big thank you, Larry, for joining us today and giving us that overview of the TrueCommerce EDI solution. And this webinar, as always, will be available on demand afterwards. And if anyone does have any questions, please do get in touch and we can connect you with Larry directly and get that session booked up for you. So once again, thank you so much, Larry, and thank you everyone for joining us.
Same here. Thank you very much. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.